Late in his life, Civil War hero and two-term President Ulysses S. Grant moved to New York City, authorized his life savings be handled by a brokerage house at 2 Wall Street, based primarily on the track record of a reputed market wizard. It seemed everybody on Wall Street was talking about Ferdinand Ward.
How brilliant he is and how much money he's making.
In 1880, at age 58, just a few years from his death, Grant was not financially secure, despite his own heroic lifetime track record, overcoming the odds of an underdog David as he embarked on life in the Goliath military machine.
When Grant first enters West Point, he's a small farm boy. He's 5'2" maybe. He weighs about 100 pounds.
By graduation, he was 5'6", a beefy 130 pounds. Growing into a larger-than-life icon, General Grant commanded 1 million troops during the Civil War.
He's the only general that captured 3 complete armies,
becoming America's greatest soldier in the young nation's most precarious war.
Battle of Belmont, Shiloh, Vicksburg, Chattanooga, Battle of the Wilderness makes a great victory charging Missionary Ridge. Grant really never lost a battle.
Lincoln, savior of the Union, honoring the Founders' Declaration.
That all men are created equal.
Born in southwestern Ohio in 1822, the oldest of 6 children.
Grant grew up here in Georgetown in this home with his church just across the street. When he was a child, 5 or so, he's helping in the tannery.
His domineering father owned the prosperous town tannery. Grant had a strained relationship with his dad and detested the family business.
A very dirty job. He hated the smells, he hated the looks of the carcasses.
He eagerly departed the tannery for college and never returned. After West Point graduation, he was assigned to his first tour of Army duty.
They honor him for his bravery.
Grant retired from the Army in 1854 to unite with his wife Julia.
His family is everything to him.
He also wants to break the bonds of military restraint and pursue his entrepreneurial spirit in the free market of civilian life.
I want to be a man of the earth.
His biographers have adjudicated his intellect and leadership as genius, yet agree Grant was noble but naive, lacking business savvy. He had not been taught to distinguish investing from speculative ventures and gambling.
His business life was not very good.
I'd like to be a farmer.
The Columbia River floods and ruins everything.
Farming isn't the only failure. A poultry venture collapses when the 30,000 chickens he bought died before hitting the market.
Grant trusted everybody to be as honest as he was.
Real estate? As the monthly collection enforcer from renters in the homes that he owned, he wasn't mistaken for a mob-type bone breaker.
At times, loaned money to the people he was supposed to be collecting rent from. What fit with him best, the soldier's life.
He returns to it in 1861. His country torn apart, the gloom of the Civil War illuminates Grant's greatness.
He attacks and attacks and attacks.
His heroics led to the political pinnacle.
He was a 2-term president who started the restoration and rebuilding, the healing of this country.
After 8 years in the White House, the move to New York City. He had prestige, the most photographed man of the 19th century, and he was broke, unemployed. Presidents had no pension in the 1880s, and regulations viewed his presidency as a job outside the military, which therefore blocked his Army pension.
Here's a man of courage and strength who saved this country and pulled it back together from civil war, and yet he couldn't save himself.
General Grant borrowed $100,000, the modern-day equivalent of $2.5 million, from his wealthy inner circle of friends to buy into the brokerage house at 2 Wall Street as a full partner, taking an office there, all based on an introduction by his son Buck to the track record and reputed market wizardry of 31-year-old Ferdinand Ward.
Ulysses nearing, retirement, maybe I ought to make some more money. And if I could make it fast, that'd even be better.
An eyewitness company employee said most every Friday, Ward visited Grant's office with a box of cigars, a stack of documents for Grant to sign, and a ledger showing a company valued at as much as $16 million, the modern day equivalent of $400 million. Grant perhaps thought fame and achievement were finally going to amount to a fortune.
The reality is terrible things can and often do happen in life. So the challenge of the investor is to make prudent decisions in light of the uncertainty that life actually offers.
Well, Mr. Ward, you've made me a very wealthy man.
Ward was the 1880s version of a Madoff Ponzi schemer, reveling in the luxury of his crimes, exploiting Grant's impeccable image by scamming wealthy patrons with the story. His exclusive Grant connection provided valuable insider information on government contracts. The pitch was a lie.
History is rife with con men and hucksters stealing investors' life savings. And that's not going to stop anytime soon.
In Ward's wake, Grant was left with the $80 he had in his pocket. Julia had another $130 stashed around the house. The entire family bankrupt, and hundreds of former Union soldiers still loyally following their legendary leader, believing where could a pension be safer? All bankrupt.
He actually felt that it should be like the Army. If you tell someone something, that's the way it will be. And it's not the way it was in civilian life.
Grant's integrity, his bravery as a muddy boots general leading from the front in the face of fire, his tactical genius, powerless against the blood-on-the-street manipulations of a Wall Street hustler like Ward, who was convicted of fraud and sent to prison.
Grant was great at seeing a lie, a misdirection on the battlefield. Unfortunately, he didn't see the lie in Wall Street.
The unpretentious Grant, once again broken by the civilian private sector, was forced to do what he had always rejected as self-aggrandizing: write his memoirs.
And when you talk about the American dream, he believed in freedom, in the rights of men.
So the goal of every investor should be to create wealth and prosperity for their American dream by using the historic market forces, while at the same time protecting themselves from the con men that are out there that could easily destroy their wealth.
Grant died in July 1885 at age 63 of throat cancer. Over 1 million mourners attended his funeral. He had finished his 2-volume work 5 days before his death, and his last try at non-governmental employ had finally worked.
It was the best-selling book in America for several years.
The memoir royalties he willed to his wife, $450,000, the modern-day equivalent of about $12 million, created family wealth that provided completely for his widow, Julia, until she died 17 years later, in 1902.
Grant is a cautionary tale. Guard ourselves, arm ourselves with knowledge, and be grateful for the amazing country that Grant and the people that won the Civil War gave to us.